So I remember the first time that I said I wanted to run a marathon, and everyone laughed. I get why they laughed. It was kind of a bit like the time I said to my mum, I want to go to uni, and she laughed, and she said, who do you think's going to pay for that? And so this theme kind of follows me around. And a couple of years ago, I went to see a business advisor, and I said, I want to turn my blog into a business. And this is what he said to me. That ain't a business, love. This is all about your ego. It's all about you, and you'll never make any money from it. He was wrong. And this is the thing that I find in my life, is that people are always telling you that you can't do stuff. And of course you can. So I set up my blog in 2010 after coming dead last in a race. In fact, I was so slow, by the time I got to the finish line wasn't there, and neither was anybody else. And I thought, God, that's a little bit embarrassing. And then I thought, actually, that's quite funny. And I went home and I Googled running for fat women. And there wasn't anything really. There was lots of stuff about running for weight loss, but nothing that kind of really spoke to me. And that's kind of how my blog was born. And since then, I've had, millions of hits on the website. I've got 30,000 followers all over the world. And it's now something that I do full time. It's my job. And so my job here today is to motivate and inspire you, not necessarily to run, because I'm sure you're all sitting there thinking, oh, I don't like running. Actually, do we have any runners here? Oh, we do. Woohoo! Woo-hoo. Okay, and do we have anybody that's run a marathon before? Woo! Okay, so for those of you that have never run a marathon, let me tell you something. Running your first marathon is like having your first baby. Everyone else is doing it, but it's going to hurt, so you're not too sure. And when you get to the start line of your first marathon, the fear is incredible. You know it's going to hurt, you just don't know how much. And then you get to the end of your marathon and you think, never again, I am never doing that again. And then, of course, you do. It's very much like childbirth. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I kind of, do these crazy challenges. And my next challenge, so I've run 3 full marathons and probably about 30 half marathons and hundreds of other races. And my next challenge is to run an ultra marathon. So an ultra marathon, the one that I'm going to be doing, is 52 miles in 24 hours. I don't think I've ever run more than 26 miles, so I don't really know how I'm going to double it, but I will. And I have this theory, I have this thing which I call big, fat, stupid goals. And that's kind of how I live my life, really. So they're big because of their scale, they're fat because of their kind of indulgence, and they're stupid because no one thinks you can do them. So you can check me out next year to see whether I actually do this race. But yeah, big, fat, stupid goals is kind of what I encourage my women who follow my blog. And within that, I have this thing, a kind of a system that helps you kind of get there in whatever your kind of big, fat, stupid goal is. And I'm going to share my system because, all the best motivational speakers have systems. And my one is called the Going the Distance system. It's good, isn't it? So, number 1, you have to face your fears. Now, believe it or not, I am actually quite fearful of public speaking. And when Jen saw me in Bristol in October last year, it was my first big gig, and I was crapping myself. I was so scared. But as everything that you're scared of is probably the stuff that you should really be doing. So, I am still fearful of lots of different things, but I manage my fear by doing it. So when Jen asked me to speak, I didn't quite realise how big it would be, and it is quite scary, but you've got to face your fears. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you have to create good habits. So you might be wondering why I'm in my running kit. It's not because it's on brand. It's because I'm actually going to run home after this, which is a bit bonkers. But I've got childcare this weekend, so I am not going to miss out on an opportunity to run. And it's, it's the same as kind of writing. You don't have to be good at writing. You just have to do it. Writing, running, if you want to become a runner, you have to run. If you want to become a writer, you have to write. You just have to do it. And if you saw how rubbish some of my earlier blog posts were, and also, I've written a couple of books, and people always say, God, you've got, 5 books on Amazon. How do you do it? And how do you get started? And how do you make sure it's not rubbish? You don't, you just do it, and if it's rubbish, you learn, and then the next book's better. So don't buy the first book I ever wrote, because it is It's not as good as the last one. The last one's great. So yeah, you have to kind of create good habits for yourself. Number 3, you have to build a team. And I know as a blogger, you can sometimes just be you, but your team comes in all different ways. Sometimes it's your immediate family. Sometimes, I mean, I run a business. People often think my business is bigger than what it is. In reality, it's me in the corner of my front room. I don't even have an office. It's just like the corner of the front room. But I do have a team. I have kind of freelancers who do little bits for me. And if you don't have that support, you can drive yourself nuts. So, get that support. It's really, really important. Number 4 is you have to improve your technique on things. Okay, so I was explaining to somebody earlier on, I'm a pretty rubbish blogger, really. I don't know much about the blogging world. I don't know who's who and all of that kind of stuff. I always forget to take photos, which is not that great. I'm rubbish at kind of stuff like SEO and coding and graphic design and all of that kind of stuff. And when I first started writing my blog, it was anonymous. It was using a kind of template that everybody else used. But over time, I have improved kind of my technique on various things. And when I'm still really rubbish at something, I just pay someone else to do it, I've just got a cleaner. Because I'm rubbish at cleaning, so I've paid someone else to do it. Who wants to clean? So yeah, if you're really rubbish at something, pay somebody else to do it. Otherwise, get better at it. And then number 5, what's number 5? So number 5 is celebrating your successes. So, when you first start blogging and you get like 10 people read your thing, and you're like, oh, that's really rubbish. No, it's not really rubbish. It's 10 people reading what you've got to say. And quite often, as my blog has grown, I've been so focused on what the next step is that I've kind of not appreciated the things that I've kind of done really, really well. So recently, I put myself up for this thing called Voom, which was a Richard Branson competition for UK businesses. So there were 5,000 businesses that applied, and it was kind of, you put up a pitch, and it was a public vote, and then, you had to kind of get into the top 160. I got into the top 160 out of 5,000 UK businesses. That's incredible, right? Yeah. But I didn't think that was incredible. I was thinking, oh God, but how do I get into the semi-finals now? So rather than just say, well done, Julie, you did all right. So then I went and pitched to a kind of panel of judges, and I got through to the next thing. So I got through to the top 40. I was like, wow, it's really good. Sadly, I didn't get through to the semi-finals, so I won't get to meet Richard Branson yet. But when I got the email that said, oh, unfortunately you haven't got through, I was a bit gutted, and I cried on the DLR, which is never a good look. So yeah, I cried on the DLR, and then and this was only last week, by the way, and I was really down because, all of my followers had been voting. I felt like I'd let them down, and I got all these lovely messages, you've not let us down, Julie, you're incredible, and all this kind of stuff. And then I realised, I beat myself up a bit too much, and I should celebrate my successes. So, when you do something good, give yourself a pat on the back, and don't compare yourself to other people. That's the worst kind of thing you can do. And I guess that's the message that I'm going to leave you with, is that for many, many years I was told by all kinds of people, my parents, my teachers, everybody that I came into contact with, that I wasn't good enough, that my opinion didn't count for anything, that I should shut up and be quiet, that I was too big for my boots. I was told by experts that I would never make a business from what I'm doing. I was told by government agencies that the work that I was doing to get overweight women active wasn't worth anything, yet I managed to get more women running with no budget than some organisations that get millions of pounds of money. Ignore them. Do it anyway. Set your goals. If you are passionate and you believe that you can change the world, then you can. For many, many years, I tried not to be fat. I spent 20 years of my life trying not to be fat. But actually, I've realised, for me, fat is where it's at. And I've managed to build a global brand that pays the bills. So just be yourself, be authentic, and set yourself some big, fat, stupid goals. Thank you very much.